AI SDRs are going to transform the way businesses operate in the next few years. And in this video, I want to explain how you can leverage this opportunity. The internet is booming right now. There are quite a few startups that raising funds for this idea. This is one of the recent articles from TechCrunch where they've been explaining that there are several startups in the same market that see the success in a short period of time, which is not very usual. You can even go to the Y Combinator startup directory and can see that there are quite a few companies that are building around the same idea. So I will actually explain you how you can build one for your business or build one for yourself so that you can further sell it to other companies. I am qualified to give you this information because we've been actually automating SDR departments for the past year. And these are actually 3 of the public case studies that we have on our website. And I actually have one video about this specific company on my YouTube. You can go and check it out. This is a Canadian wholesaler that we built a prospecting tool for. They've been doing the prospecting manually. This is a direct dropship supplier and slash manufacturer. We've been actually building them an entire SDR solution that is doing the outreach as well as the prospecting. And this is a B2B SaaS platform that where we automated the sales pipeline to increase the booking rate and show up rate for the webinar. Again, so I will dive deep into the details of the AI SDR solutions and what they can offer to the businesses later. But these are, for example, some of the results that we've been getting. Delivered 5,000 plus qualified prospects into the pipeline of this wholesaler just because they have the actual human reps that do the in-house, they sit in-house as well as the independent reps that go door to door, and they've been using this system to actually scale their department. Here we generated 200 plus leads in 2024. It might seem not a lot, but considering that the LTV of this customer for one client is $30,000. This is quite significant. And here we increased the booking rate by 40% and the webinar attendance by 70%. I'm giving you this information so that you can understand that AI SDRs work. It's not a magic pill that can do everything for the business, but it's a very solid solution that already working. And based on all of these things that you can see here, is going to only get better and better. So what are the AI SDRs? Obviously, there are quite a few different types of sales representatives within the company, depending on their niche and the company structure, but we can simplify it by discussing independent sales reps, in-house sales reps, and hybrid model. So independent sales reps are usually the contractors who leverage their network to generate the leads and close deals. They work on the flexible terms, usually either a pure commission or maybe a salary plus the commission. Some companies have the in-house sales reps, and this is what the Toolway had, where they hire an employee that is acting like a sales representative for the company. They pay this employee a salary plus bonuses based on the closing rate or the deals that they acquired. Or the hybrid model that, for example, the direct dropship supplier I was talking about has, where they have both independent sales reps as well as the in-house sales reps that drive interest to the business. And this is how usually the pipeline in a simplified way looks. Again, it really depends on the business and the type of products that the business sell, but to generalize it, there is an awareness stage where we drive an awareness and doing the outreach or running the ads into lead magnets if you are offering them, or if we're talking about the SaaS platforms like demos. Then there is the qualification phase where we score the prospects and understand if this is a qualified one. Obviously, if you are selling the software, you would want to qualify the prospect before booking the demo. Then there is a sales process with the showcase demos, trials, and all these things. And then there is a closing phase where you complete the paperwork, complete the payments, and actually sign the contracts. So the SDRs or BDRs, they can be replaced, depending on, again, the business. They usually do both of this tasks within the business: awareness, driving awareness and qualifying the prospects, and then the actual sales and closing done by account executives, sales managers, or sales directors, right? Again, super dependent on the business. We are talking about these two phases: awareness plus the qualification. So let's actually dive deeper in sub qualify this specific pipeline, so that you can see the each stage that the prospect goes through to become a actual like sale and a customer. As I said, different companies have different pipelines, but this is how we at Quimple divided the process into 5 main phases, and primarily it's done for us to explain to the business when I reach out to someone in cold or when I get a referral. This is how I explain the business how our solution is going to help them. And as I said, we've been SDR automation being one of the most popular solution that we have built in 2024. That's why I created a framework of explaining the businesses how the system is functioning. Now, this is a sub pipeline, as I said, within like this stages of driving awareness and doing the qualification. First one is the prospecting, where we actually find companies, prospects based on the ideal customer profile. Once the prospects are found, we are doing the research, right? You need to research the company, you need to research the decision maker you're going to reach out to, so that then you can further use this information in your advantage when you're reaching out, for example, through the email, and use personalized offers or lines so that it can drive a better response rate. Then there is an actual scoring phase where you score prospects based on different parameters. This is not exactly qualification, just because qualification is usually done on the prospecting side. Scoring is more like dividing the prospects into multiple segments, so that then you can launch separate campaigns for different channels. For example, when we have been working with this direct dropship supplier, after the actual prospecting and research phase, on the scoring, we had 3 main pipelines. We had a LinkedIn campaign that was running from the accounts of the sales representative within the company. We had our own campaigns through the cold email, and we had an actual flow where we have been driving prospects to their independent sales reps that were going both door to door and cold calling these prospects, same way as here. But here in this Canadian wholesaler, we've been only focusing on this part, right? So we've not been setting up the outreach campaigns, and we're only doing the prospecting. So it really depends on the business. It really depends on the goals you're trying to achieve. Now, once the prospect is scored and divided into multiple segments, there is a creation phase. And here you create different campaigns, follow-ups, marketing materials based on the goals that you have and the outreach methods that you are going to use. And there is and the final stage is the actual engagement, right? So when you are trying to engage with the prospects and drive interest, right? Okay, so the SDRs are made to automate the entire process. I am not saying that you, if you are the business owner, you should do that, or if you're trying to sell this solution, this is the only way for you to do that. But this is the goal that we kind of have in mind when we are talking about implementing an actual AI SDR solution into the company. This is how it could be done, because there are quite a few different tools that you can use on each of this stage for prospecting, research, scoring, creation, and the actual engagement. Within Quimple, we have one framework that we sell the companies, and this is an actual suite of different automations combining different tools. in a simplified way for their actual sales depths and directors of operations so that they can track the whole pipeline without going deep into the automations. When we, for example, talk about the prospecting, you can obviously use SalesNav. You can use Apollo.io like a database to try to find the prospects. Sometimes the prospects are not available on the Apollo because Apollo is usually getting the information from LinkedIn. There's a Zoom Info, which is more comprehensive and more expensive solution for the most part if the prospects are available in the general databases. They will be on the Apollo. We are sometimes using the Zoom Info if we are trying to reach the actual like government contractors, just because it has like a better database for them in there. We may use the Apify to scrape, for example, the Google Maps or some external resource if we're not able to find the information anywhere here. But also we need to understand that the prospecting can be also a very manual process depending on the business. So if we are working with a company that has a very specific ideal customer profile, which is not easily can be targeted through LinkedIn, and maybe these people are not on LinkedIn, you would need to go to the specific category-based websites to go to the contact details and get the information manually. We obviously have the VAs that do it for ourselves, and that's how we provide the prospects to our clients. There is a research and scoring phase, and I combine it together just because for the most part you would use the same tools. There is obviously one of the best tools is Clay. It is like a combination of multiple tools that connect to other third-party databases and sources and combine everything under one in-house solution. Obviously, it's not usually as straightforward to set up depending on your workflow. If you want something simplified, you can use something like a Clearbit that is just enriching the prospects or the full inreach. These are just as standalone softwares that will help you to find certain information about the prospect or the company. Again, all of them has the direct integration in Clay, so you can use Clay. But if you just need to, for example, enrich the emails or the phone numbers, maybe it's just easier to use the full enrich. Obviously, we have the Clay as our enrichment agent, and we have multiple API keys from different softwares that are connected here. Or you can use Make with something like Apify to create automations that scrape certain information from like different profiles and websites. Recently, the last video on my channel was regarding the AI website scraper, which we actively use in this process. Clay has the ClayGen that is actually like scraping the website and can research certain information on the website, but this custom automation built on Make using a few Apify scrapers is doing a bit of a better job. That's why we are using that. What I'm saying is that it doesn't really matter what tools you use, you just need to do the job, and there are millions, not millions, there's tons of different softwares that can do the same by different prices and by with different kind of approaches trying to target the same result. When it comes to the actual creation, which is more like a creative process, because once you have, let's say, a prospect list, right, of the ideal customer profiles, you feed these prospects into either Clay or your custom built pipeline where it enrich the information about each and every prospect. Once you have this data, you need to actually create the materials, right? So you need to do something with this data. That is where the creation phase is happening. You can do this again with Clay, but this is not how we do that. We have our own Airtable interface where after the enrichment and research and scoring process, we feed everything to our Airtable interface. And there we have multiple automations, for example, like that is doing the calls to the Airtable trying to get the information, and then it's doing the personalization with the custom built agents. So we for example, can build an AI agent. Usually it's just done by the custom GPT or the actually custom assistant from the OpenAI, and we like feed all the information there. We train it to provide a certain amount of text when we like outputting the emails or create the scripts based on a certain structure. So once we feed the information from the research and scoring phase, it has a 90% accuracy compared to the actual human rep that would write the emails. That's why it's so effective. It already can really do the great job creating personalized outreach messages, which does not sound like an AI. What I'm saying is that AI is capable of doing that, but it needs to have the right instructions. And we'll talk about it later when I will give you kind of my opinion on all the software, because we are providing the solution, right? So the service, we're not providing the software. And some of the businesses that get the software that claim that they are an actual AI SDR, this is out of the box solution, which might not work exactly as expected, especially in this phase. So once we have the prospecting done, research, scoring, creating, then the most important part, right? The engagement. But is it the most important part? I would say it depends. Again, as always, 50%, about 50% of the solutions that we have built, we're only focusing on these 4 things. For example, if I go back to the Canadian wholesaler, this is this is exactly what we did for him. We were not doing the outreach on the behalf of the company. So we've built the actual engine that was doing the prospecting, and we've been actually combining the automated prospecting with some manual work, doing the research, scoring, and creating some of the materials for the actual human sales reps to help them with the outreach. And when they were actually going door to doors, for them like to have a bit of more information and already pre-made scripts that will help them with the personalized offers. So we can only focus on these 2 parts, but for other 50%, we've been doing the whole thing, mimicking the actual like SDR behavior. And this is where the true AI SDR comes in, because it's not only doing the research part, it's actually doing and driving, it's actually doing the outreach and driving the interest, right? So if we talk about the engagement, we can generally classify it on 3 different things: emails, calls, and DMs. Emails are pretty straightforward calls also, so these are like essentially like cold calls, and the DMs are either LinkedIn or SMS, can also be considered a DM. So these are kind of the problems that you would face with emails. You have a lot of the competition with the inbox placement, right? Because you're not directly competing with maybe your specific offers, because when we've been building the SDR agents for these companies, they have very unique offers in the very specific market. So usually their competitors are not doing that. And that's why for me, it's an easy sell when I'm on the call with a company, because I say that your competitors are not doing that. And this is exactly the tool that you need to scale your company as fast as possible with the least amount of investments, right? But you are competing not only with your competitors, you're also competing on the inbox level with other companies that are sending some like promotion materials to your potential prospect, right? Calls, again, so very simple. Like they can only work if you would have a very simple to understand offer. I would not recommend you to go with the cold calls using the AI. If you have the actual sales reps that are doing it anyways, yeah, sure. But again, so it would only cover this stage. So we would not do the actual engagement part. So here you would like it will work, but you need to have a very specific offer so that you can like pick up the phone and say, hey, this is like where I'm from. Are you interested or not? if this is a process like marketing services, it's very hard to sell through the cold calls, just because besides the fact that you need to go through the gatekeepers, and besides the fact that phone numbers are harder to find and usually are more expensive to find if we are talking about actual like research part here, um like it's very hard to sell this type of the services which are not pretty straightforward through the cold calls. With the DMs on the LinkedIn, it's risky. It's really good depending on the business, but for example, for my agency, I'm not doing the LinkedIn outreach just because LinkedIn is very important resource of leads and business for me, and I do not want to risk it, just because for me to sell something, I need to do a bigger outreach at scale. I said that here we have been actually, for some of the companies, been running the cold emails as well as the cold LinkedIn DMs through the company sales reps accounts, but it was 100% safe just because we've been dealing with a few dozens of outreach requests per day and not hundreds. So there, because we had a smaller pool of prospects we want to reach out to on LinkedIn, right? But for the SMS, obviously it's really good, but it's pretty shady and you can get in trouble. So I would not recommend you to do the SMS all the time, but it really depends again on the type of prospects you're reaching out to. So still the best ones are the email and LinkedIn. If we are talking about the emails, we would set up the infrastructure in softwares like Instantly or Smartly. It means that we would buy the domains and emails, warm them up so that you and we on your behalf can send multiple hundreds and maybe thousands of emails per day, per week, and them landing into the inbox. Or what we would start doing more and more, and what we started to do more and more, is to actually combine, again depending on the business, but this is what we've been doing for these guys here, the actual multi-channel outreach, where we have been sending the emails as well as the LinkedIn. This is what I mentioned a few minutes before. I would not recommend you to, again, do the LinkedIn outreach at scale. I would, based on the actual like scoring for the best prospect that you find, I would actually suggest you to do the emails with the LinkedIn request and engagement, but for the most part, you would just stick with the emails, right? Once the emails are centered to the ways the business go into, it's either if the prospect replied, so the reply is received, or reply is not received. So if the reply is received, the conversation goes to the human sales rep, or if the reply is not received, you would either quit. Obviously, you would do the multiple follow-ups, but if still like the reply is not received, now you can actually try to reach out to the prospect through the LinkedIn, right? Or sometimes through the SMS. Guys, again, so I'm giving you the general structure. If you want me to go in depth into one of the solutions that we built for one of the companies, with either here or some companies we regularly work with, let me know in the comments. By the way, I have the bootcamp where you can learn these things. You can learn how to sell these things and how to make money with this type of the solutions if you're trying to build an agency and sell AI offerings. So there is a first link in the description. You can go there and check this out. You would need to complete an interview with me to be approved, but yeah, so this would be your best resource to find the information. Okay, so now, is there a way to automate the entire sales process in the B2B with the AI right now? You know that I'm trying to be as honest as possible on this channel, not trying to sell you something really hard and like explain how great of the AI thing is and it's a magic pill for your business. The answer is generally no. Of course, it depends. It really depends on your offer. It really depends on the type of the niche you are in. But in the ideal scenario, right, we are driving awareness and not close the deals, because closing is still on the humans. Yes, there are like some people that are, and some especially like the softwares, they might land into your inbox that are claiming that they will do the whole process, right? They will be your magic pill to do everything. So it's like you pay them multiple thousands of dollars a month. They will connect their softwares, they will build everything, they will research, drive interest, they will do, right? So they will do all these parts here. This will be the last one, and the last one here is the actual, like here, right? And then there is the sales and closing. So they can say that they'll build you the voice AI agents and the SMS agents that are very hard to differentiate from the human, and this is how they would able to close the clients. I'm not questioning the part where you can build the AI that is very hard to differentiate from the human. What I'm saying is that if you are in the B2B, usually your checks are higher and the area of a mistake is pretty high. That's why, and like usually, at least the companies that we work with already have the sales reps, and it's very hard to come to the company and say, hey, like just fire your whole department, right? Like we'll replace it with the AI, even if it would be possible, which I don't think it is for the most cases, right? So it's easier where you will actually drive more awareness, aka interested prospects, aka leads to the business, so that these reps can actually close, right? It's going to be possible eventually, but I think we are not there yet at the level how I would want to see the solution. Again, like trying to be honest, I am confident in the things that we built. I'm confident that in a lot of the cases, this AI SDR system are already pretty capable of replacing the human reps, but only on these two stages and not these two when it comes to the actual sales and building the relationships. So these are, right? So there's guys like that have literally AISDR.com in their name. So they are probably the pioneers of this whole thing, and they've been backed by Y Combinator or whatever. So there is the guys 11 lakhs. They've raised, I think, 50 mils round the last week or something. So they are all claiming that this is the only solution that you need, right? So for example, here this is like how they show it on the screenshots. So you do the email, actually you do the LinkedIn. So based on the company like website, so you'd make a call, maybe leave the message, and Mike is the actual AI caller, AI representative, and it can do everything, right? So again, it really depends on the process. So these guys raised $50 million for this idea. Like, I'm probably not the one to judge, but I'm just giving you my opinion based on like hundreds of conversations I've done with my clients and potential prospects. Based on what I see, it depends on the business model, but based on what I see, it's not there yet, right? You would lose a lot if you would fully replace your agent department with something like that. So your better bet, you can, right? But it's just on the return on investment. I think it's not worth it. So I think, and this is what we always try to explain our clients, is that it's better for you to already start implementing the SDR solutions on the prospecting and research and maybe the engagement part, but then the other aspects will be covered by the sales reps. But there are some nuances, and I'll talk about it later. So here, for example, like it also depends on your tool stack. In this TechCrunch article, these guys were saying that here, for example, it's all based on the data, right? So without access to the differentiated data, AI SDR startups are at risk could be overtaken by like the giants like Salesforce, HubSpot, and Zoom Info. So you need to be aware that it really depends on the kind of the tool stack that you use. So for example, if you are using the modern, these are not the most modern CRMs like HubSpot or something like the Pipedrive, but they've been already adding the enrichment part to their systems. So for example, there is a enrichment software like Clearbit, which was acquired by HubSpot. So it's literally, you would be able to, within the HubSpot, you would be able to enrich the prospect details. But again, so it might fix kind of this research part at some extent, but it's still not there yet to actually find the ideal prospects for you, especially if you're working with a very, very specific ICB. And even if all of them will be integrated, it's far, far from what we offer for our clients in terms of the accuracy of the results that you can get from the actual like research, scoring, and especially creation if you build it in custom. But you need to keep in mind that we are also competing with the softwares, and if you're the business, it's a really good news, right? So me as an AI agency owner, I'm trying to improve, right? So I'm trying to improve my offerings so that they cannot be replaced with a simple software. But like, so it's great news to you, right? So more competition, better offerings. If you are planning to sell something like that and build these things for your clients, you need to be aware that besides the fact that you're competing with other agencies, you also compete with the big players that will eventually be integrating similar solutions, right? So for example, if we are talking about the prospecting, as I already said, it's, it depends if how difficult it is to find these prospects, and we are still doing the manual outreach, going through the websites as well as combining them with a public databases that are available. When it comes to the research, this part and scoring, this part can be like 100% automated. Again, I don't think that this can be automated with these giants, and it's not even near to this extent, because there are so many filters, so many things you can reference when it comes to the score insert prospects. And this process still needs to be designed by humans and not by just the software with one click of a button. When it comes to the creation, this can be automated. And this is what you see as a value proposition by a lot of like these companies, right? So you can say here, Alice email sent. So they would personalization number one, personalization number two. So they will personalize the emails on your behalf, right? Or here, they'll actually do everything, right? So they'll do the prospecting, they'll do the personalization and the outreach, right? So it's just one click of a button. But you need to understand that it's not about personalization. It's more about the way you prompt AI to do certain things. So the email, like to personalize email right now, it's not that hard, right? So you can even go to like instantly or smartly and literally like type one prompt and it will do the personalization for the first line. But a lot of people already do that. So even, as I said, like you're not only competing with your direct competitors, you're also competing on the inbox level. So you need to be different. You need to sound like a real human. And this is very hard to do with the personalization, unfortunately, right now. And like, fortunately for me, just because it's very hard to automate with one click of a button, because you need to have the knowledge to prompt AI to create the correct things, right? If you don't have an experience, if you don't know what personal lines work, if you don't know the right script. So if we are, for example, on the creation phase, if we are working with a sales department, which is primarily doing the cold calls, and we are automating, for example, this process, this 4-step process. So we are not doing the actual outreach for the company. We're automating this process. And here we create the offer angles as well as a script examples for the cold callers. You need to understand what cold calling scripts work, right? That's where there is an actual research on an agency side comes in, where you go into the processes, you go through all the conversations that can happen between the sales reps and the potential prospects. You evaluate them, you see what angles work, and then you prompt AI to create information based on these things. This is not currently possible with these softwares, and you need to keep that in mind. With the engagement, depending on the scale, for example, here you can also see that these companies are saying that they will do the outreach on your side, or maybe you can even like build a simple automation, right? So technically you can, after the creation process, you can like build a simple make.com or n8n automation that will get the prospects from this phase. So let's say after this phase, we go to Airtable, right? In the Airtable, you have all the information about the prospects, and it will start the automation on make.com. And here it will craft the email and it will send the email through the simple Gmail module on make.com, right? Sounds awesome. But the problem is that if you're going to do that at scale, you're going to land into spam, right? It depends on the business. So if the business doesn't have a lot of the potential prospects, if the market is very tight, it might work. But if we are doing the actual scaled engagement, you need to have a proper infrastructure. And these softwares will not be able to do that. Even if they do, I think some of them can, it's not going to be as sufficient as something that can be done by humans like us. So we would build the actual infrastructure around it so that it enables us to send everything at scale. And guys, you need to understand that like I'm just giving you the examples and comparing it with the softwares. Like I'm not comparing it exactly with AI SDR or 11 lakhs. I just know that the niche is booming, and I've already told you that we will see much more startups and services and softwares and agencies that will come into the space in the next year. So I'm trying to make you aware of what are some of the things you need to keep in mind before like integrating this for your business, or how you would build your offer if you're planning to sell this type of solution. So the biggest problem is usually that B2B sales and business requires connections and human relationships. At least this is what we hear from the clients that we work with, right? When I was starting Quimple, I've been like only getting clients through the cold emails. I've been hopping on hundreds of sales calls, and that was one of the most popular objection that I needed to handle. Is that, yeah, that's awesome, it sounds awesome, but come on, like AI is not there yet to replace the humans, just because there are connections, right? There are relationships that needs to be built with like in the B2B, just because you work with, like, usually the company would work with a sales rep from the company and they would trust the sales rep, and if something is wrong they will get back to this sales rep, right? So, and there are some of the people that are saying that AI will never replace humans because of the relationship. It is kinda not true. And maybe I sound a bit controversial just because like I'm saying that yes, it's not there yet, right? So it's not there yet to replace the whole system depending on the business structure. And now I say that, yeah, it's not true. It can do that. No, what I'm saying is that yes, in the near future, I think human relationships will be valued higher, like even higher than right now, just because everything kind of will be automated. And it's not a fantasy, it's gonna happen, because why not? It's efficient, right? It's efficient way to run the business. So the human relationships will be very important. But the question is, how would someone understand that it is a human and not an AI? I'm actually watching the anime series right now. It's called Pluto. You can go check it out. And it's about like the robots and like the near future where the robots are it's very hard to differentiate where is the robot and where is the actual human, and the robots express like the feelings and emotions. So we're eventually going to face the same thing, but like it's gonna happen like in the next years, where when you talk to someone, you will not be able to understand if it's a human or not, So when we say that the relationship building is important, how would you know that you're building the relationships with a human and not with the AI? Obviously, when you talk with a voice, so it's right now it's pretty straightforward. If you like call the prospect, AI is great when it comes to the voice AI colors, but it's not that hard to understand that it's not a human, right? It's great, like it's doing the job. We've built multiple voice AI outbound and inbound agents, right? They are doing the job. But when it comes to the actual building relationships and like in-depth conversations, you can like actually see that this is the AI. But right now, for example, my agency can build chatbots through the email, SMS, Instagram, WhatsApp that are almost impossibly to differentiate from the actual like sellers or the reps, depending on the questions. But for the most part, it's very hard. And we will become even better in the next year. So you will not like talking to someone, you will not know that this is the actual like AI, and you will think that you are building the relationships. And when you are ready to jump on the call, now the human rep will pick up the conversation and will continue with a background of the conversation that has happened between you and the actual AI. So, to conclude this thing, I think based on my peer experience and observation of the market, most of the B2B companies need to integrate and need to start looking at the AI SDR engines that empower their processes on the actual prospecting, research, scoring, and engagement part, and then improve the actual sales pipeline with the humans that have more prospects to work with, just because this part is going to be automated and will drive more leads into the business that real human reps would need to close.